My husband, afraid I'd be lonely during my pregnancy, got me a golden retriever as a gift. I immediately tracked down an underground puppy mill and had the dog bred 12 litters in a row until its body broke down from exhaustion and paralysis. In my past life, I'd loved that dog with every ounce of my heart. I took it everywhere, even slept curled up beside it every night. Yet in just 1 month, I aged to look like a woman in her 50s, and the baby inside my womb lost its heartbeat. I died on the operating table. After death, my spirit drifted free from my body, and I watched my supposedly terminally ill best friend Zhou Wanqing float out from the dog's frame, glowing with health as she stood before my husband. Thanks to my soul transference spell, I slipped my spirit into this dog's body. Every lick she gives siphons her life essence straight into me. She said, "It's an honor for her to feed my lifespan. Her death saves me the trouble of killing her myself." Reborn into the present. I smiled coldly. I couldn't lock them behind bars, there wasn't enough evidence for criminal charges. But she was trapped in a female dog's body. Nothing more. Sending her to be bred over and over was perfectly reasonable, wasn't it? Find an underground breeding farm right away. One that lets female dogs mate non-stop. Hurry. I dug my nails into Assistant Zhou's wrist until they nearly sank into her flesh. Zhou stared back in shock. "Ms. Nian. But this is the golden retriever Mr. Lu specially bought for you. Just do as I say." My voice was flat, so hollow it sent a faint shiver down my own spine. Down in the living room, Lu Chen's voice drifted over. "Nian, come quick. I've got a surprise for you." I released Zhou, drew a deep breath, and stepped out of the bedroom. A glossy-coated golden retriever sat poised in the center of the room, a pink satin bow tied around its neck. The instant it spotted me, a distinctly human glint flickered in its eyes, the very gaze of Zhou Wanqing. I'd spent my entire previous life oblivious to how I'd been murdered, only learning the hideous truth once my soul lingered above my dead body. Zhou Wanqing had been my college roommate and closest friend for 4 years. I'd stayed up all night at her bedside during her illnesses, wired her cash whenever she was short of money, and even urged my husband Lu Chen to visit her often while she wasted away from her alleged fatal sickness. Behind my back, she traveled to Southeast Asia to master forbidden soul transference magic. She trapped her soul inside a golden retriever and convinced Lu Chen to gift the dog to me as a companion for my pregnancy. Day after day, the dog licked my skin, slowly draining my life force bit by bit. By my 7th month of gestation, I looked 50 years old. My unborn child's heart stopped beating, and I perished mid-emergency surgery, hovering above the operating table as a ghost. I watched Wanqing's spirit detach from the dog and return to her bedridden human body, which instantly regained full vitality after years of fake terminal illness. Lu Chen pulled her into an embrace. "She's dead. Her house, savings and design studio are all ours now." Wanqing laughed. "Her worldly possessions are trivial. I've drained 7 years of her lifespan. Now I've earned an extra 2 decades of life for myself." Floating helpless on the ceiling, I ground my nails into my palms with unbridled rage. Powerless to change anything, now reborn, I'd returned to the exact day Lu Chen brought the dog home. "Nian, what's on your mind?" Lu Chen slipped an arm around my shoulder. "Wanqing specially sourced this gentle golden retriever to keep you company through your pregnancy." The dog squatted on the floor, head tilted upward, the corners of its mouth tugged up in a subtle grin. A dog was smiling. It rose to its paws and padded toward me, tongue lolling out to lap at my hand. I stepped sharply backward. In my past life, it had done exactly this every single day, licking my hands, my cheeks, my swollen belly. Each caress left a cold drain in my bones. White hair sprouted overnight the next day. My skin sagged on the 3rd. My vision grew clouded by the 4th. Within 30 days, I withered from 28 to a haggard 50-year-old woman. When the doctor broke the news that my fetus had no detectable heartbeat, I'd blamed my own poor health, never suspecting this dog Zhou Wanqing had licked my unborn baby out of existence. "Nian." Lu Chen frowned at my odd behavior. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing." I forced a smile. "What should we name her?" "We haven't picked one yet. It's your call." I stared down at the golden retriever. its tail wagging enthusiastically yet its eyes far too shrewd. Unnervingly human. Tennis. I said. Lu Chen chuckled. Cute name. Tennis. Wanqing WQ Tennis. I'd named her to signal I knew her true identity, leaving her clueless how much I'd uncovered. Tennis closed in to rub its head against my calf and lick my ankle, a frigid chill seeping straight through my skin. I locked eyes with it. The dog was still smiling. I knelt and stroked its crown. We'll get along wonderfully from now on. Tennis. A flicker of smug triumph glinted in its pupils. Assistant Zhou wandered over from the balcony, her face drained of color. Earlier, I'd scratched 3 characters into her palm mid-grip. Breeding farm. She knew I wasn't referring to a reputable pet breeder, but a grim hidden facility out in the suburbs rusted iron cages. Female dogs chained to breed relentlessly until broken and discarded when they could no longer whelp puppies. I retreated into my bedroom and bolted the door, pulling out my phone. I'd been far too kind in my previous life. So gullible I'd been killed without ever understanding why. This lifetime, kindness was off the table. Lu Chen rapped on the door outside. Why lock yourself in? Tennis hasn't had dinner yet. I'm worn out and going to rest. Feed her for me. A brief pause followed. His footsteps faded away, and I heard him coo to the dog in the living room. Mummy's tired. Let's leave her be. Tennis yipped. And I caught unmistakable smug satisfaction hidden within that bark. Zhou arrived early the next morning with heavy purple shadows under her eyes, having clearly tossed and turned all night. I found the place. Ms. Nian. She held out her phone in a hushed tone. It's 4 hours drive across the provincial border. Run by a man everyone calls Monkey Ho. He takes any shady job you can name. I scrolled through gruesome photos. Rusted cage bars. Grimy water troughs. Walls lined with portraits of breeding bitches annotated with their total mating counts. What's the pricing? They charge per litter. 800 apiece for a guaranteed successful conception. Non-stop consecutive breeding costs extra. Ask how much for 12 successive litters. Zhou's hands trembled as she typed the message. 3 minutes later the phone vibrated with a reply. Boss Ho says he's never had such an EXT. Ream order. 12 litters will almost certainly wreck the dog's body. I typed back. Cover all costs if she collapses. After a long pause, the reply popped up. Deal. I locked my phone and leaned back against the headboard. Sunlight slipped through a crack in the curtains to fall across my rounded pregnant belly. My baby had perished at 7 months in my last life. Before he was even born this time, I'd already begun exacting revenge for him. From the living room came Lu Chen's voice again. Come here, Tennis. Daddy'll brush your fur. The dog let out an excited yip. I closed my eyes and wait for Lu Chen's business trip. And the dog's reckoning would arrive. 3 days later, Lu Chen announced his upcoming travel. I've got an investor summit in Shanghai. I'll only be gone 3 days. Look after Tennis for me. Of course. Ring me if anything comes up. Will do. He bent to pat the dog's head. Keep an eye on Mummy. Okay. Tennis wagged its tail and nuzzled his palm. Once the front door shut and I watched his car pull out of the neighborhood driveway and vanish from sight. I waited 3 more minutes to confirm he wouldn't double back. Zhou. My assistant emerged from the kitchen clutching car keys. Load Tennis into the travel crate and stow it in the boot. Tennis perched on the sofa. Head tilted. Tail still swaying. Utterly oblivious to my plan. Still convinced I remained the naive fool it had drained to death in our past life, I knelt to meet its gaze eye to eye. Tennis. It stretched out its tongue to lick my cheek. I didn't flinch as cold damp saliva touched my skin. Do you know what I hate most? I murmured. I hate how you'd lick me dry then stare like I deserved to be sucked empty. Tennis's tongue froze midair. Genuine confusion clouding its Aisa reaction no regular dog could muster. Only Zhou Wanqing's trapped human soul. I wiped the spit from my cheek and stood upright. Crate her. Zhou. The dog scrambled backward sensing danger. But my assistant pinned it down and stuffed it into the plastic carrier. Tennis scrabbled frantically against the crate walls with sharp claws. I hauled the crate to the car and slammed the boot shut. Through the plastic slats. It fixed me with venomous eyes, the exact hateful glare it had worn when it crushed my unborn child beneath its paws all those years ago. We pulled onto the highway. Destination: Monkey Ho's breeding compound. 4 hours of driving. Tennis howled nonstop. Shrill unhuman screams tearing from its throat. Joe's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Ms. Nyen. That cry isn't natural. Keep driving. I shut my eyes, recalling my own agonized screams as I died on the operating table in my former life. I'd suffered far worse than this. At the puppy mill. Monkey Ho was every bit as brutal as I'd feared. Stocky bald man draped in a thick gold chain. Loud floral shirt rolled up to reveal cheap inked arm tattoos. He squatted to pry open Tennis's jaw and check its teeth and ears. Good breeding stock. He kicked the crate lightly. A little long in the tooth though. Can you breed her? Sure thing. As long as she's intact. 12 full litters. You said. Correct. Can't knock all 12 out back to back. One every 2 months minimum with proper rest. 12 would take 2 full years. Poor thing will break around litter 6 or 7 if her body can't recover. What happens if she breaks? Paralysis. Organ failure. Death. He spoke casually as if discussing worn-out discarded clothing. I glanced down at the terrified dog inside the crate. It had understood every word. You drained 7 years of my life in our past existence. 2 years and 12 litters was fair repayment. I'll pay premium to push the schedule breed her until she physically can't go on anymore. Ho grinned, showing yellowed stained teeth. You've got guts. 2 laborers dragged Tennis out of the carrier. One pinning its head while another restrained its hind legs. The dog thrashed wildly, scraping white gouges into the dirt with its claws. Eyes locked onto me in unmistakable human hatred. Its mouth moved without barking, lips shaping silent words I couldn't hear yet could read clearly. You've lost your mind. I smiled down at it, kneeling level with the cage. I'm not insane. I've simply stopped being stupid. Tennis was hauled into the rear breeding shed. Ho lit a cigarette. First mating tonight. I've picked a German Shepherd stud to sire big-boned pups. Don't limit yourself to one male dog. Prioritize litter quantity over puppy quality. Ho shot me a curious look and nodded. Cigarette clamped between his teeth. Got it. I'll pull out all the stops. Joe paled beside me. That dog's stare. It didn't look like a dog at all. I said nothing as piercing female-like wails spilled out from the shed. Far too high and human for a canine. Ho frowned. Hell of a set of lungs on this bitch. I'm not leaving. I told Joe as I walked to the car. I'm staying on site to watch every single litter come to pass. My palm rested gently over my belly, and my baby kicked once in response. Be patient, little one. I whispered. Mummy's avenging us both. That midnight. Tennis's hoarse whimpers woke me from sleep. I wandered to the dimly lit shed where the dog huddled in a metal cage, belly already swollen from the first successful impregnation. One shot took. A smoking workman said, German Shepherd sire. I knelt by the bars as Tennis lifted tear-streaked red-rimmed eyes to me. Dogs don't cry, but Zhou Wanqing, trapped inside this body, was weeping. I tapped a finger against her rounded stomach through the metal. Congratulations on your first litter. The dog shrank into the far corner of its cage, trembling. Don't get comfortable. I stood. This is only the beginning. On the 3rd day of Lu Chen's business trip, he called asking for video of Tennis. I held the phone to the cage, letting him see her gaunt frame. She looks thinner. He frowned over the screen. I'll be home tomorrow. Wanqing called today. Her conditions worsened and she's begging to see you. My fingers tightened around my phone. Had Wanqing's spirit managed to slip free of the dog's body back into her human shell? Did she realize she was trapped in a breeding bitch being mounted by large dogs? I'll visit her tomorrow. Back at the shed. Tennis's belly bloated far faster than normal. Ho guessed 6 to 8 developing fetuses. A tough upcoming labor for the undersized dog. Help. The dog rasped in broken human speech after days of torment. Its voice hoarse and strained. I leaned into the cage bars. Beg mercy. When you sucked my life away and killed my unborn baby, did you spare a single plea from me? Realization crashed over Wanqing's trapped soul as I laid out every detail of our past betrayal. Stolen assets. Drained lifespan. My fatal surgery. 12 litters. Until your body gives out. No early release. Tennis slammed its skull repeatedly against the iron bars, screaming in hysteria. Startled workers rushed in thinking the dog had gone rabid. She's perfectly sane. I left the shed behind me, staring up at the stardust night sky. I'd died trapped in cold darkness once. Now I was alive beneath bright stars. And I intended to live long and well. Liu Chen returned home the exact day Tennis went into labor. I lied that the dog was boarding at a groomer's shop and met him for dinner. Inside the shed, Tennis lay soaked in blood, surrounded by 6 stillborn puppies. Her uterus badly torn from a difficult malpresentation birth. Ho injected restorative medication. Needs 2 months recovery minimum before another heat cycle. Cut it down to 1 month. Ho stared in disbelief before complying with the injection. The dying dog's glazed eyes locked onto me, lips trembling to whisper a broken why. You never asked why when you killed my child and stole my life. I turned and left without another word. The next morning I visited the hospital to check Wanqing's abandoned human corpse. Emaciated, sunken-faced, barely clinging to life, yet her fingernails retained healthy pink shine, proof her wandering soul still siphoned vitality from my body through the dog's form. I leaned over her hospital bed. Rest easy. I won't let you die prematurely. Her lifeless fingers twitched faintly as her distant trapped spirit registered my voice. Stuck forever inside a battered whelping dog far out of town. On day 4 after his return, Liu Chen uncovered my deception. Having verified no pet parlor had ever taken Tennis in. Where have you hidden my dog? Sent her off to be bred, now she's in heat. I replied coolly. His face drained of all color. He knew full well the dog housed Wanqing's soul. You've lost your mind. I'm retrieving her immediately. Try it and I'll submit audio proof of your conspiracy to murder me to police. I pulled up a recorded clip of their post-mortem celebration, dividing my property and discussing stolen lifespan. Liu Chen froze. Trapped between prison and saving his lover's soul, he stormed off defeated, unwilling to sacrifice his freedom for Wanqing. Days later, private investigators tracked the mill's location and Liu Chen arrived alone to claim Tennis. The pregnant dog scrambled hysterically against the cage bars, hoping for rescue, croaking fragmented cries of his name. I arrived just in time to present my ultimatum. Take her away and face felony charges for conspiracy to kill me, or walk away and let the breeding continue. He abandoned Wanqing without a second glance, leaving her screaming broken-heartedly inside the cage. Her second litter spawned 7 more dead puppies, followed by crippling spinal damage, leaving her permanently paralyzed from the hind legs down. Ho switched to manual-assisted breeding for all subsequent litters via injections and rest-ry. NT. Before the 3rd breeding round could begin, Liu Chen arrived with divorce paperwork, signing over all my original assets in a desperate bid to cut ties and avoid my blackmail. Wanqing's human body died this morning. I informed him as he signed. Her soul could never return home now, locked eternally within a broken, crippled dog's flesh. Back at the mill, Tennis descended into hysterical mad laughter upon learning her human vessel was gone, driven insane by her irreversible entrapment. 6 litters came and went, one after another, every batch filled with lifeless pups. By the 7th breeding, the dog refused all food and survived only on mandatory nutrient injections. Her spirit mostly dissolved and faded away. When I finally called off the remaining 5 planned litters, all she could mumble through cracked lips was a hoarse thank you. I instructed Ho to keep her humanely fed and sheltered for the rest of her short natural life. A month later, Liu Chen was arrested for massive corporate embezzlement, tax fraud and racketeering. Betrayed by his greedy business partner and sentenced to 14 years behind bars. On my due date, I was admitted to hospital and delivered a healthy 7-pound 6-ounce baby boy with a strong, steady heartbeat, me child safe and alive at last after the tragedy of our previous lifetime. I spent my postpartum confinement at a quiet countryside maternity resort. 1 month after birth, Monkey Ho sent a photo of a nameless unmarked grave dug into a remote hillside where Tennis had been buried upon passing away in her sleep. News trickled back that Liu Chen had devolved into madness in prison, constantly raving about a vengeful ghost dog nipping his ankles and hearing Wanqing's endless cries echoing through his cell, picking fights with cellmates who deemed him psychotic. A year later, my company went public, topping industry rankings. On a sunny post-IPO afternoon, I brought my toddler down to the seashore to watch the sunset. A scruffy stray dog peeked out from coastal shrubbery, and I set down a pack of dog sausage for it without offering unnecessary affection. I'd learned to give charity freely yet never again surrender blind trust to manipulative creatures. As I held my laughing son close and drove back toward the city, the past's pain and vengeance faded fully into the rearview mirror. The evil pair had reaped every bit of suffering they'd sown, and I'd built a happy, prosperous new life for myself and my child at last.